Imagine for a moment that your brain is not just an organ. Imagine it is a machine. Not a static one, but a living system, constantly processing signals, burning energy, building memories, and maintaining the delicate chemistry that allows consciousness to exist. Every second, billions of neurons fire electrical impulses across vast neural networks. Thoughts emerge. Decisions form. Sensory information is interpreted. But beneath this extraordinary activity lies a hidden cost. Every electrical signal, every metabolic reaction, every burst of neural activity produces microscopic waste. Your brain generates chemical debris continuously. And unlike most organs in the body, the brain cannot simply tolerate that accumulation. If toxic byproducts build up inside neural tissue, the consequences are immediate. Neurons become less efficient. Communication between brain cells slows. Inflammatory processes begin to activate. And over time, the risk of neurodegenerative disease begins to rise. So the brain has evolved something remarkable, a hidden cleaning system. A system that does not rely on blood or immune cells or traditional lymphatic drainage. Instead, it relies on something far more subtle. Fluid dynamics. During deep sleep, your brain activates what scientists sometimes describe as a biological pressure washer, a powerful hydraulic system that flushes toxic waste out of neural tissue. And the deeper you sleep, the stronger this cleaning process becomes. To understand how this works, we need to look at what happens inside the brain during the deepest stages of sleep. When you are awake, your brain is in a state of constant electrical activity. Neurons fire rapidly, networks communicate continuously. Sensory input from the outside world keeps the brain fully engaged. In this highly active state, the cells of the brain are packed tightly together. The microscopic spaces between neurons are extremely narrow. And because those spaces are small, large volumes of fluid cannot easily circulate through the brain. This means that while you are awake, the brain's ability to remove waste is limited. But everything changes when you fall into deep sleep. During slow-wave sleep, the brain begins to shift into a very different physiological state. Neural activity slows. Electrical rhythms become synchronized. And most importantly, the architecture of the brain begins to change. Specialized support cells called astrocytes start to shrink slightly. These cells normally surround neurons and help regulate the chemical environment of the brain. But during deep sleep, astrocytes reduce their volume by nearly 60%. This subtle change has a profound effect. As astrocytes shrink, the spaces between brain cells expand. Suddenly, microscopic channels open throughout the neural landscape, and those channels allow fluid to move. That fluid is called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. Cerebrospinal fluid surrounds the brain and spinal cord, acting as both a cushion and a chemical stabilizer. But during deep sleep, CSF takes on an entirely different role. It becomes the brain's cleaning solution. When the intercellular spaces expand during slow-wave sleep, cerebrospinal fluid begins to flow into the brain tissue through specialized pathways that run alongside blood vessels. These pathways are known as peravascular channels. Through these channels, CSF enters deep into the brain's microscopic spaces. And once inside, something extraordinary begins to happen. The fluid starts to move through neural tissue in rhythmic pulses. These pulses are not random. They are synchronized with the electrical rhythms of deep sleep. Large, slow brain waves sweep across the cortex, and with each wave, fluid movement intensifies. The result is a coordinated hydraulic motion. Fluid flows inward, collects waste, and carries it away. This is why some neuroscientists describe the glymphatic system as the brain's pressure washing system. Just like a high-pressure hose can blast dirt from a surface, cerebrospinal fluid flushes metabolic debris from the brain. and the deeper the sleep, the stronger the rinse. But fluid movement alone is not enough. For this cleaning system to work efficiently, the brain relies on microscopic molecular structures embedded within the membranes of astrocytes. These structures are called aquaporin for channels. Aquaporins are specialized proteins that allow water molecules to pass through cell membranes rapidly. In the brain, aquaporin for channels are concentrated at the ends of astrocytes, where they wrap around blood vessels. These tiny channels function like molecular valves. They regulate how fluid moves between cerebrospinal fluid and the interstitial spaces of brain tissue. When deep sleep begins, aquaporin for channels facilitate a rapid exchange between fluids. Cerebrospinal fluid flows inward. Interstitial fluid carrying metabolic waste flows outward. This creates a powerful circulation system within the brain. Waste products generated during the day are swept away through this fluid exchange. Among the substances removed during this process are several molecules that scientists believe play critical roles in neurological disease. One of the most studied is beta-amyloid. Beta-amyloid is a protein fragment produced naturally during neural activity. Under healthy conditions, the brain removes it efficiently. But when the glymphatic system fails to clear beta-amyloid effectively, it begins to accumulate. These fragments can stick together, forming plaques that interfere with neural communication. And these plaques are one of the defining characteristics of Alzheimer's disease. In other words, the nightly cleaning cycle of the brain may play a crucial role in preventing the buildup of harmful proteins. Deep sleep is not just restorative, it may be protective. Researchers have been able to observe this process directly, using advanced imaging techniques. In experiments conducted on both animals and humans, scientists injected fluorescent tracers into cerebrospinal fluid and monitored how the fluid moved through brain tissue. What they discovered was remarkable. During deep sleep, fluid flow through the brain increased dramatically. Tracer molecules spread rapidly through neural tissue, collecting metabolic waste and exiting along drainage pathways. But when subjects were kept awake, the same tracers moved far more slowly. The cleaning process was significantly reduced. This finding suggests that wakefulness and sleep represent two very different physiological states for the brain. When we are awake, the brain prioritizes information processing. But when we sleep, the brain prioritizes maintenance. And maintenance requires fluid flow. One of the most fascinating discoveries about this system involves the role of slow brainwaves. During deep sleep, the brain generates large electrical oscillations known as delta waves. These waves move across the cortex like gentle tides. As they pass through neural networks, they trigger synchronized periods of neural silence followed by bursts of activity. But these electrical waves also influence the physical environment of the brain. Recent imaging studies have shown that slow-wave activity correlates with large pulses of cerebrospinal fluid entering the brain. The slow electrical rhythms appear to drive the hydraulic motion of the glymphatic system. Each wave creates subtle pressure changes that push fluid deeper into neural tissue. This means that electrical activity, blood flow, and fluid dynamics are all working together. Sleep is not just a neurological phenomenon. It is a fluid mechanical process. But what happens when this system does not work properly? Modern lifestyles have introduced several factors that can interfere with deep sleep. Artificial light at night can suppress melatonin production. Caffeine can block the buildup of adenosine, delaying sleep pressure. Chronic stress can fragment sleep cycles. And sleep disorders, such as sleep apnea, can repeatedly interrupt deep sleep. When slow-wave sleep becomes disrupted, the glymphatic cleaning process weakens. Fluid flow becomes less efficient. Metabolic waste begins to linger longer within neural tissue. Over time, this can contribute to the accumulation of harmful proteins. But even in the short term, the effects can be noticeable. Many people have experienced the mental sluggishness that follows a poor night of sleep, that feeling of brain fog, difficulty concentrating, slower reaction times, reduced creativity. While many factors contribute to these symptoms, one possible explanation is incomplete neural cleaning. The brain simply has not finished its nightly rinse cycle. Another fascinating aspect of the glymphatic system involves body posture. Some studies suggest that sleeping position may influence how efficiently fluid drains from the brain. In particular, researchers have observed that sleeping on the side, known as the lateral sleeping position, may facilitate more effective glymphatic drainage compared to sleeping flat on the back. The exact reasons are still being investigated, but gravity and fluid dynamics likely play a role. When the body is positioned laterally, drainage pathways may experience less resistance. Fluid may move more freely along the perivascular channels. While more research is needed, this finding hints at how subtle physiological factors can influence brain maintenance. The discovery of the glymphatic system has fundamentally reshaped how scientists think about sleep. For decades, sleep was viewed primarily as a time for neural rest and memory consolidation. But we now know that sleep is also a time for physical cleaning, a nightly wash cycle that protects the brain's internal environment. Without it, metabolic waste would accumulate, chemical imbalances would disrupt neural communication, and over time, the risk of neurological damage would increase. Sleep, therefore, is not simply a pause in consciousness. It is one of the most active biological maintenance processes in the human body. Every night, when you close your eyes and drift into deep sleep, your brain begins a remarkable transformation. Neural activity slows, cells shift their shape, fluid channels open, cerebrospinal fluid surges through microscopic pathways, toxins are captured, waste is flushed away, and the brain is prepared for another day of thought, creativity, and learning. This invisible hydraulic system operates quietly, automatically, and relentlessly, but only if we allow it to. Only if we sleep deeply enough for the system to activate. Because the brain's most powerful cleaning tool is not a drug, or a supplement, or a medical procedure. It is sleep itself. In the next video, we will explore the electrical switch that activates this entire cleaning system, a specific brain rhythm that determines whether the glymphatic flow turns on or stays silent. Because, without that rhythm, the pressure washer never starts, and the brain's hidden cleaning system remains idle.